All right, your name, sir?
My name is Joshua Goldberg.
Mr. Goldberg, you're here today because you're arrested for 3 charges: battery, domestic violence, resisting an officer without violence, and trespass on property after warning. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. Counsel?
Morning, Judge. Ian Tudor here for Mr. Goldberg. After speaking with the state, we would like to have the alleged victim in the case address the court regarding the condition of contact if Mr. Goldberg were to be out on bond. It's our understanding that the alleged victim does want to have contact.
All right.
We would ask for the court to impose an order allowing non-hostile contact.
All right, ma'am, raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Your name?
Tara Taj.
I'm sorry, speak up.
Tara Taj.
All right, and you are the alleged victim, is that right?
Yes.
You can put your hand down. What are you here to say?
I would like to maintain contact with my boyfriend. I believe that there's been a misunderstanding, and I would like to be able to maintain contact.
Do you guys live together?
No, we don't.
Okay, so you have a separate place. But you have no problem or fear with him?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right, as to the battery, domestic violence, let's set a bond amount of $500. We have no hostile contact with her. That means you can't raise your voice, can't do anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, the state would also just request that they maintain separate residences.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna do that.
Perfect.
So you can visit, but you're to maintain a separate residence, okay? You can have contact, just no hostile contact. Set bond amount of $100 on the resisting and $100 on the trespass. No return to the 4210 West Plaza Drive, which is that UCF property? It is, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. No return to UCF property.
Sir.
And no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol.
Understood, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, yes, he did, but go ahead again, yeah.
First name Ian, last name Tudor, Tudor.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. Kyle, all good?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Allgood, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. And the 2100 Conway Road, is that where you were living?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have another place to go?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I'll step on, he does qualify for PTR. Now, can a person on DV be released strict PTR now, or no? It still needs to be monetary? What are they doing? $5. All right. So you do qualify for pretrial release, which would require, it used to be no monetary bond, but now it requires just the $5. There are conditions to that. You have to meet with your pretrial release officer. They probably drug test you and things like that, but you don't have to post like a $500 bond. Would you rather do PTR, or do you want to have the $500 bond?
I mean, it's gonna be $100 anyway for the $500 bond, correct? I'll just do the $500 bond.
All right, step bond amount of $500. You'd have no contact with Victoria
Campbell.
Campbell and Kylie Campbell. You're not to return to the 2101 Conway Road. You can go back there one time if you do have items that you need, but you need to go with law enforcement
Sure.
to pick up those items. Not to possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. All righty, you're all set.
This is what she gave me. That's what, ma'am. Yeah, that's
Your name, ma'am? Your name?
Maureen Bowers.
Ms. Bowers, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of battery, domestic violence. I've read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Now, were you living at the DeCleva Drive address?
Yes, sir.
Do you have another place to go?
If I have to, yes.
There's no one here to allow that, so. All right, you also qualify for pretrial release. I don't know if you heard what I indicated for you. There would be a $5 bond, but in pretrial release conditions, you'd have to keep in contact with a pretrial release officer, or else that bond amount of $500, you don't have to be concerned about that.
I'll do the pretrial release.
All right, pretrial release, $5 bond, pretrial release conditions. It means you have to keep in contact with your officer and anything they ask you to do. You're not to have any contact with the alleged victim in the case. You're not to return to 1245 DeCleva Drive, although you can go back there one time with law enforcement to pick up any items you may need, clothing, that kind of stuff. You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Okay.
And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, sir?
Again, St. Gabriel.
Mr. Gabriel, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. And were you living at the River Tree Circle address?
Yes.
All right. Do you have another place to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll set bond the amount of $500. You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. You're not to have any contact with Fabienne Boschbrunn. If you do need to go back to the River Tree address to get any clothing or anything, you can go with law enforcement one time. Okay? And we'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Thank you.
Donna Maria Hill is mental health.
Gabriel, the one that just left.
I'll appoint a public defender to represent her.
Waive, Your Honor. Oh, she has a victim. She has a victim? Is that what that is?
Yeah. Are you guys already representing her on other stuff, do you know? Sounds like maybe.
Out on
that
bond,
other
yes.
Case, yeah. All right, as to the violation of domestic violence injunction, a set bond of $1,000, stay the bond on criminal mischief of $1,000. She's not to have any contact with the alleged victim in the case, and no return, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. Appoint a public defender to represent her. And, out on bond. Is that filed yet?
No, Your Honor. It looks like it's back from September 6th of last year, and I didn't see an information filed. And you can confirm. Let's see, I don't.
Yeah, it hasn't, I don't have anything.
Name, sir?
Christopher Jamar Jones.
Mr. Jones, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. All right, ma'am, raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
You need to speak up.
Yes.
There you go. And your name is?
Gloria Elise Rosado?
Okay, and you are the alleged victim in the case, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And are you here to tell me today that you don't want to have any contact with Mr. Jones, or that you would like to have contact with him?
I would like to have contact.
You would?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Jones, you do qualify for pretrial release, so I can either set a bond of $500, or I could set pretrial release with a $5 bond, which would require that you comply with the conditions of pretrial release, but you wouldn't have to post that $500 bond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, the $500.
You want $500?
Yes, sir.
All right. Post bond, set bond amount of $500. You'd have no hostile contact with the victim. And you guys live together?
When he's in
yes,
Florida,
sir.
yes.
Okay. You can go back there. You just can't have any hostile contact. That means he can't raise his voice, can't throw stuff around, can't be hostile to you in any way. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're not also to possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, use or possess, and you're not to, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Let's have a lawyer.
Judge, he doesn't qualify.
How much, let's hold on, Mr. Jones, come back real quick. Are you working now?
Yes, sir.
How much do you make?
I'm a surgical tech. I roughly make around $4,000.
Oh, you don't qualify for a public defender then? $4,000 a month?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and no dependents?
I have kids, yes, sir.
How many?
2.
Still probably too much.
It's too much. The cap is, why it says 4,013.
Okay, I think you're there. I'll leave it there. Public defender can take a look at it. I'll appoint a lawyer for you, so you got somebody on the short term. All right, thank you, ma'am. Your name, ma'am?
Sequoia McKinney.
Ms. McKinney, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. All right, your name, sir?
Hello?
Your name?
Green, David Green.
All right, raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, and you are the alleged victim in this case? Is
I'm
that right?
finding it hard to hear you.
You are the alleged victim, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, what did you come here to tell me?
I'm here to tell you I'm trying to create a situation that Sequoia can retrieve her things, and if she's trying to move on to go up to Chicago or wherever she needs to go, that she can do that, make that transition smoothly.
Okay, do you want her to come, so you don't want to have any contact with her? That's fine with you if she wants to move to Chicago?
I'd like to have contact so she can get her things under.
Well, I can solve that. What I'm saying is you don't want her to come back and be at your house? Is that what I'm hearing?
Problems.
What's that?
I don't want her to cause any problems.
Okay.
No violence
All right.
or anything.
That's not a problem. Okay. All right, Ms. McKinney, I'll set bond amount of $500. You're to have no contact with David Green. Now, you can go back, and that 601 East Rollins, that's where you live, Mr. Green?
I'm sorry?
601 East Rollins, that's
No,
where you
that's
live?
incorrect.
Where
I
do you
live at
live?
1710 Van Ness Street.
What is 601 East Rollins? Why is
I
that?
have no idea. Oh, East Rollins, that is, I believe, Robbins, Illinois, is her mother's address.
I don't know why that's on there. It is, I see 1710 Van Ness, though. So, oh, it's the hospital, okay. You can return to that, you're not to go to 1710 Van Ness Street and have any contact with Mr. Green, although you can go one time with law enforcement, so she can come to your place with law enforcement to pick up her personal items, okay?
Yes. And
But it has to be with law enforcement.
And her daughter's at school, so we need to make sure that she can get her daughter.
Where's
I
her
have
daughter live?
Problems with Sequoia.
Where's she living?
Her
With you?
daughter lives with us. We live together. We've been living together for the last year.
Well, what do you suggest that happened to the daughter?
What do I suggest?
Yeah,
we
where's
made
she
sure-
gonna go?
I made sure she went to school today.
Okay,
Okay, and moving forward, I would just like, us to be cohesive with each other.
was DCF called? I didn't see that they were.
I don't see it checked.
No,
No,
everything is
was not
fine.
notified.
She's fine with her daughter, everything.
Well, here's the problem. She gets out of jail today, she bonds out. She's gonna have to find someone from law enforcement that's gonna come today so that they can get her daughter, right? And her stuff.
All right, if I can suggest.
Yeah.
If I can input this, I have no problem with Sequoia. I don't think we'll have any issues moving forward. I just like her to find the happiness that she's looking for. So I have no problem with her coming back to the house. I don't need any restrictions with her.
Well, that's not what you told me before. You said you didn't wanna have any issues with her, so you
I
didn't
don't
want
want
her
to
to
have
come.
any issues with her. At the end of
Okay.
the day, the apartment is destroyed. I have to try to put it back together. So I'd like her to come and get her things, and she can move forward as long as it takes. She has a car, she has all these items, so.
What's your plan, ma'am?
I just want to go home. I want to go back to Illinois, so I just want to get my stuff because I've been in a situation where domestically violent in Ohio. I can't keep doing this.
So so you just wanna get your stuff and be gone?
Yes, last time he was sent to jail for domestic battery, and this time I was sent, and I I don't want to keep going back and through this.
Okay.
So I just want to be able to get my
Well,
daughter and my stuff.
From what you're saying then, as long as she's not hostile, it's okay that she be there until she can get her situation, and get
Yes.
her daughter and get
That's
situated and
completely fine.
and leave.
Yes.
And that sounds like what you want to do too.
Yeah, I would live in a hotel if I have to. I haven't.
Okay.
staying-
Well, and that's
Well-
obviously preferred. That
Well,
way
this
there
is-
won't be any
this is-
problems. You could pick up your daughter and just go and stay at the hotel.
This is part of the problem. She's withdrawal all of my money out of my account.
Yeah, that's not an issue I can deal with. All right, then I'm gonna leave it as it was. I'm gonna say you can go back there one time with law enforcement. If you bond out, you can't go there unless you go to get your stuff. You are free to go pick up your daughter from school if you want to do that, or get her and then take her to the hotel.
Okay.
You're not to possess any guns, weapons, or use any drugs or alcohol. And we'll appoint a public defender to represent you, so have a lawyer. Okay? Thank you, sir. Your name, ma'am?
Gizem Özgürt.
All right, ma'am, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find there is sufficient probable cause. Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, you're gonna need to speak up a little bit because you're.
I do.
Oh, there you go. All right, and your name is?
Mehmet Emre Ergin.
All right, and you are the alleged victim, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what did you come here to tell me?
So, she's a good person. I love her from bottom of my heart. She just has some alcoholic problems, and it kicks the anger when she drinks. Usually, she's quiet. She's a good person, and I didn't want it to happen like this.
Okay. Now, do you want, are you okay with her returning home
Yeah,
as long as she doesn't drink?
yeah.
Okay. All right, ma'am, you do qualify for pretrial release, so if you wanted to, I can either set a bond of $500 and you can bond out, or you can go under pretrial release conditions. Now, there is a $5 bond that goes along with that because there's monetary required, but it's only $5. But pretrial release does require that you keep in contact with your pretrial release officer. They may drug test you. Might not be a bad idea from his perspective. But you don't have to post the $500 bond. You just have to keep in contact with the officer.
Which one is, I just want to go home faster,
They're
And
probably,
I don't have alcohol issues. That day, we.
Don't talk about the past.
that's okay. Don't worry about what happened. I mean, looking at what it says here, maybe there is. But unfortunately, a lot of times people don't think they have it, but really they kind of do. But it doesn't matter. That's not important right now. What we need to decide now is whether you want just me to set a $500 bond or whether you would like to go with pretrial release conditions.
I just want to bond out.
Okay. $500 bond, no hostile contact with the alleged victim, so you can't be hostile to him. You can go home, can't yell at him, can't throw anything around, can't do anything like that, all right? You're also not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, so no alcohol use. That's a violation of your condition. Can't drink, can't use drugs, all right? You understand? If she does, that's a violation. She goes back to jail. So no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, okay? And I will appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you, sir. Are your name, sir?
Brandon Reyes.
All right, Mr. Reyes, you're here today actually for, looks like 4 things. First of all, you're arrested on a new charge of battery domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause.
And we are on all the failures to appear, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
I saw that. For some reason, they put them as no bond, but they're $1,000. All right, were you living at the, no, that's not where it was.
Oh, so he does have bonds on those?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right, they put no bond, I guess, because
Oh,
of the other
New
thing.
statute.
It's $1,000. All right, ma'am, raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Your name?
Alexi Reyes.
All right, ma'am. You're here because you're the alleged victim in this case. Tell me what you came to. Are you interested in having contact with him, or do you want to have no contact with him?
I'd like to have contact, please.
You do? Okay. And you guys live together?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, we have a
Okay.
3-year-old together.
All right. Well, what I can do is order that he not have any hostile contact with you. Okay, so he can't be hostile in any way to you. All right? All right, Mr. Reyes, I'll set bond in the amount of $500. You're to have no hostile contact with the alleged victim, Alexi. If you do have hostile contact, it's a violation, and you'll be back in jail. Okay? You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And I will appoint a public defender to represent you on this new charge. You're also arrested on 3 failure to appears in traffic cases. The bonds on those are $1,000 each, and you already have a public defender in those cases. Okay? All righty. So no hostile contact. If he does, you can call law enforcement, he'll be back. Okay?
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Your name, ma'am?
Randy
Last name?
Sims.
You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. All right. Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And your name is?
Robert Sims?
All right, sir, and you're the alleged victim in the case?
Yes.
All right. What did you come here to tell me?
Okay, I tried to tell the police last night that this was 100% a total, complete, on my part, misunderstanding of how the 911 works. We were just having an argument. It got a little out of hand, but I called 911 because I thought that they were good, that the police would come and just de-escalate the argument. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that this would happen. That she is not a violent person.
Well, they de-escalated it.
What's that?
By making an arrest. I mean, that's what they, these kind of cases
Right.
are some of the most dangerous cases for law enforcement, but also for people because of the fact that people get killed all the time, okay? So that's what happened. Now, so you're here to tell me, obviously from what I heard, that you would have no problem with her returning home. Is that right?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
It was my naiveness that I thought that they were just going to talk to us. That's
Right.
what I thought.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope that this experience, if something else happens again, doesn't dissuade you from calling law enforcement if it's necessary, because they're there to do this type thing. All right. So I'll let her come back home because you say you have no fear of her. Now, she does qualify. Ma'am, you do qualify for pretrial release, or I'll set a bond of $500. Pretrial release only costs $5, and then you're released without having to post a bond. But you do have to check in with the pretrial release officer from time to time until the case is resolved. The other one is $500. You don't have to check in with the officer, but you do have to post that bond. It'll probably be a minimum of $100 through a bondsman, and you won't get that back, or you can post $500 with the county, the whole amount, and you'll get that all back at the end. So those are sort of the options. Either one of those will work, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you, so I have a lawyer today. Okay? Thoughts?
Do I need to decide, can I tell you right now? 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't-
which one do you want?
I want, the 500.
Okay, I'll set bond amount of $500. Now, you're not to have any hostile contact with your husband, okay? That means she can't get hostile with you, can't raise her voice, can't throw stuff around, can't threaten you, that kind of thing, okay? So no hostile contact. You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. So no alcohol, no drinking, no using of drugs, use of drugs, okay? All right, and that'll do. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Your name, sir? Mr. Townsend, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. And were you living at the Walden Circle apartment?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. And is there anywhere else you can go other than that? Because I assume that Mr. Villar is living there also.
Yes, sir, he is.
All right. You have another place to go, at least on the short term? Because since he's not here to say that he's okay with you returning there, I can't let you go back there, other than to pick up your stuff.
Have any place?
Well, I can't let you go there, so that'll be one of the conditions of bond, is that you not return there and you have no contact with him, at least and until the domestic violence judge changes that, because if he were here, I could do that, but he's not here. Okay, so you do qualify for pretrial release, which would be a $5 bond, and then pretrial release conditions, meaning you have to check in with the pretrial release officer from time to time. Or without having to do pretrial release, you could, I would set bond at $500, and you can just pay that, either a cash bond of $500 to the county and get it all back, or go through a bondsman. But you don't have the pretrial release conditions. Which one would you like?
It's up to you. You have to be monitored on pretrial.
The bond.
Okay, set bond amount of $500. You're to have no contact with Braulio Villar. You're not to return to 4768 Walden Circle, apartment 322, although I will allow you to go there one time with law enforcement to pick up any items you may have, any personal items, clothing, or any toiletries, at least until, as I said, the DV judge could, of course, modify that. You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you. So you're all set. All right. Your name, ma'am?
Kareem Yusuf.
All right, Mr. Yusuf, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. And the Gore Street, is that where you're living?
1206 East Gore Street, correct.
Okay. And do you live there with Christopher Valley? All right.
On the lease.
Excuse me?
We're both on the lease, yes.
Okay. Do you have another place to go for the time being? Other than there, because if he's living there, you can't go back there for right now.
I do.
Okay.
I possibly do.
All right. Now, you qualify for pretrial release also. I think you were there when I explained it, but I'll go back over it again. Two options. I'll set a bond of $500 for you, and you can just post that bond, whether it's a cash bond or you can go through a bondsman. And there, other than the regular conditions, you won't have to report to an officer. Or I could release you with pretrial release conditions. There is a $5 bond on that, but you would but then you don't have to pay anything more than that. But then you also do have to check in with your pretrial release officer occasionally. Which one do you would you like me to do?
I'll take the 500.
All right, I'll set bond amount of $500. You'd have no contact with at this point with Christopher Valley. You're not to return to 1206 East Gore Street. You can go back there one time with law enforcement. So you call whether on Gore Street, that's probably going to be OPD, and they'll send an officer to meet you there. You can go in, pick up your clothes, toiletries, anything that you may need to live, and then they'll escort you back out so there isn't any issues. Okay? You're also not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. All right? And I do appoint a public defender for you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I do have belongings there. I know I'm not allowed to go back home, but is it okay if my family picks up my belongings?
Yeah, that's actually preferred if your family wants to go, as long as they're good with him. I don't want to run into any issues, but they can go and pick up your stuff for you. That way you don't have to worry about it.
Thank you so much.
She said she doesn't qualify.
Excuse me, ma'am, how much are you working now? Yeah. How much do you make? And any kids or any dependents? All right, you don't qualify for the public defender then, so you'll have to hire somebody. Okay? All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is Christopher Banskoy, Spanish interpreter, previously sworn.
Good afternoon. Defendant's wearing the headset.
Let's see. Connection has been established, Your Honor.
Your name, sir?
Mi nombre es David Sánchez.
My name is David Sanchez.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Sanchez, you're here today because you're arrested for a charge of trespass after a warning. I've read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Bond set amount.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
Disculpa.
Oh, they're holding.
I'm sorry.
Just a second. Just want to make sure.
Oh, no, I was gonna ask for an ROR, but I noticed he has a, hold.
I'll set by the amount of $500. You bond out, not to return.
Airport.
Yeah, to the airport, once you have a valid ticket or official business, and we'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you, sir. That was 2024 MM 400508 AO. Your name, sir?
Brian Troncoso.
Brian Toncoso.
All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested for a charge of no valid driver's license. I've read the charge affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. I'll set bond amount of $100. You're not to operate a motor vehicle without a valid Florida driver's license. We'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Okay.
Thank you. That was 2024 CT 400432 AO. Your name, sir?
Carlos Ferrer Núñez. Carlos Ferrer Núñez.
Carlos Ferrer Nunez.
All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested for 3 charges. First of all, possession of cocaine with a firearm, possession of firearm, commission of a felony, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You find that there's sufficient probable cause. Possession of firearm with a weapon. Set bond the amount of 2,500. Possession of firearm, convicted felon, or commission of a felony, $1,000 and $100 on possession of drug paraphernalia. You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and we'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was 2024 CF 949 AO. Your name, sir?
Fernando Papuy Colivares.
Fernando Pupuy Colivares.
All right, sir, you're here for arraignment on your no valid driver's license and driving while under the influence. I will set that for pretrial in Division 82. And did you want to have a lawyer appointed? You did not have one appointed before because you didn't qualify, but now that you're in jail, you're not working, I can appoint a public defender for you if you want. So you have a lawyer? Would you like a lawyer?
Yes, please.
All righty. So we'll appoint a public defender to represent you on both of those offenses. And as I said, it'll be set for pretrial in Division 82.
Conference is February the 15th at 8:30, courtroom 9B.
I apologize. The interpreter missed the date.
I'm sorry, February the 15th at 8:30, courtroom 9B.
And that was 2024 CT 400102 AO and 2024 CT 400101 AO.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And I believe that's it for the Spanish.
Sounds good, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
You too. What are we doing? When are you going to call now? Okay. Okay. Your name, sir?
Torianto Foster.
I'm sorry?
Torianto
Okay.
Foster.
All right, Mr. Foster, you're here for arraignment on your trespass of a structure.
And the offer from the state was an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, no return to 1171 East Plant Street, and court costs. Mr. Foster would like to accept and enter plea of no contest.
Is that right, Mr. Foster? You wish to enter plea of no contest?
Yes, sir.
All right, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
Severe schizophrenia.
All right, you take your medication today?
Yes, sir.
You do understand what this charge is about?
Yes, sir.
All right, you read over your plea form, understood the rights, and signed it. Do you have any questions for me about anything on either side on the form?
No, I haven't signed it yet.
All right. And finally, understand that this is punishable by up to a year in the county jail up to $1,000 fine, and the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll accept your plea. I will judge you guilty of the charge of trespass after warning. Be sentenced to 43 days in the Orange County Jail, I think it was. Yeah, 43 days with 43 days credit. So you're done. I'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. It's a total of $273, and I'll give you 12 months from today's date to get that paid. You can pay a little at a time or all at once as long as it's paid. And then finally, I'm going to order that you not go back to 1171 East Plant Street for a period of 1 year. If you do return there and the court's made aware of that, you are subject to a contempt citation. You'll be released as to this case.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
We can keep going, that's Mr. Clarkson.
Oh.
Still waiting on the Arabic, I'm sorry, Judge.
All righty. Your name, sir?
David Alexander Clark Rosen.
All right, Mr. Rosen, you're here today for two things. Just a second, let me get back to it. So you're here because you're arrested on charge of petty theft. Some new case. I've read the charging affidavit, do find sufficient probable cause. Bond set the amount of $1,000 on that, and if you do bond out, you're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and you're not to return to Walmart at 10500 West Colonial Drive. Currently out on bond on another petty theft charge, and that's in 2023. CF16174AL, or revoke that bond. There'll be no bond on that. Appoint a public defender on your new case.
That's all I'm here for?
Yeah, I said he had. He has a new case, and then he's out on bond in a case. Is there another case?
Failure to appear.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, that one you already have a public defender on that?
Yes, Your Honor.
This means
That's on a battery charge, you failed to appear, and I believe that's one with Judge Wish. Yeah, there's no bond on that as well.
This one was $1,000 on it.
No, 1,000 on the new case.
No bond on this one?
Yeah, the failure to appear was already, I think Judge Wish
Okay.
already put that at no bond. Judge Starr. Okay. And point a public defender on that if you didn't already have one. All right, your name, sir?
Victor Monroe.
Hi, Mr. Monroe, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of resisting without violence and camping. I've read the charging affidavit and I do find sufficient probable cause.
And Your Honor, the offer from the state was an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and court costs he would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
All right, and is that right, Mr. Monroe? You'd like to plead no contest to those two charges?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No.
Read over your plea form, understood the rights and signed it on the bottom, and do you have any questions for me?
No, sir.
And you understand this is punishable, well, one is punishable by 60 days and one's punishable by up to a year in the county jail, and that the entry of your pleas could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have something, State?
Yes, Your Honor. I just wanted to inform Mr. Monroe that it's credit time served today, but he was just here about a week ago, and if he sees me again, it will not be credit time
Yeah,
served.
but they got me.
I know.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, I'll judge you guilty as to count one, resisting without violence, time served. Count 2, a judge guilty, time served. Those sentences run concurrent with one another, impose court costs and $50 cost of prosecution, or is it? Okay, and you'll have 12 months to get those paid, and you will be released as to these cases. Adam? All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, Madam Interpreter, have you been sworn today?
No, not yet.
All righty.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to translate from Arabic to English, from English to Arabic, and testimony given today?
I do.
Can you state your name and your ID for the record, please?
Rana, my ID number is 368152.
All righty, thank you. Sir, please state your name.
You're welcome. سيدي رجاء أن تذكر اسمك للسجل.
أمين طالبي. أنا لا أسمعك.
أمين طالبي.
All right, sir, you're here today because you were arrested for 3 charges: battery on a law enforcement officer, trespass after warning, and resisting an officer with violence.
أنت هنا بسبب 3 تهم: مقاومة ضابط الشرطة، والدخول إلى التسلل إلى الدخول إلى المكان بدون إذن، ومقاومة الاعتقال.
I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause.
أنا قرأت الإقرارات والإفادات ووجدت أنها هناك سبب وجيه لهذه التهم.
Bond will be set or stayed as previously $2,500 in the battery case, $500 in the trespass, and $1,000 in the resisting an officer case.
So the interpreter would like you to repeat,
Sure.
Your Honor, the
Sure.
amount.
Okay, the bond was $2,500 on the battery on a law enforcement officer.
عندك الكفالة بقيمة 2500 لأنك شاجرت أو حاربت ضابط الشرطة اللي كان عم بيحاول يقتلك.
And on the trespass, the bond is $500.
والرسم للكفالة للدخول إلى مكان غير مصرح له الدخول هو $500.
And on the resisting an officer, the bond is $1,000.
وكمان الكفالة لمقاومة الضابط هي $1000.
If you do bond out, you're not to return to the 24-hour fitness facility.
إذا ما بدك تدفع الغرامات أو الكفالة لحتى تطلع، هترجع إلى المؤسسة الاعتقال لمدة 24 ساعة.
And you are not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
وما مسمح لك تستعمل أي مخدرات أو أسلحة نارية أو كحول أو مشروبات كحولية أو سجاير وتدخين.
I will appoint a lawyer to represent you.
وأنا حاعين لك محامي لحتى يمثلك.
All right. Did you have a question?
هل عندك أي سؤال؟
نعم، عندي عدة أسئلة وسوف أسألها الآن.
Before.
Yes, I have several questions,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask them right now.
Before he gets into asking the questions, could you please advise the client not to talk about the facts of the case? Everything is being recorded and can be used against him.
لو سمحت أنا سأنصح، هل ممكن أن ننصحك بأن لا تتكلم عن تفاصيل القضية، لأنه تفاصيل القضية كلها تم توثيقها ويمكن أن تتخذ إجراء يعني كدليل ضدك.
لا أريد أن أتحدث عن كل شيء لأنني تعرضت للظلم اليوم ولا أريد أن أسكت. أريد فقط
No, I'd like to speak about everything because I was subject to injustice today, and I want to say everything about everything.
Okay, well, don't talk about what happened. If you have a question about the bonds or your release, I'll be happy to answer those questions. But if you want to talk about what happened, that could be to your detriment, because the state can use anything you say against you.
نعم فقط أريد
هلا إذا في عندك أسئلة حول الرسم للخروج أو الكفالة للخروج، أو إذا عندك أسئلة فيما يتعلق بإطلاق سراحك فيك تسألها. أما إذا كان بدك تحكي عن شو صار هذا ممكن يتأخذ ضدك.
أنا أتحمل جميع المسؤولية عن جميع أي كلمة أقولها، لكن تقريبا كل شيء مذكور هنا غلط، وتعرضت للظلم وتعرضت للأذى في جسمي، ولا أريد أن أسكت عن هذا. أريد أن أعبر عن حقي وأقول ماذا كان، لأن كل هذا الكلام الذي موجود تقريبا غير صحيح. هناك عدة أشياء غير صحيحة. أريد أن أبدأ من الأول حتى الآخر، لأن كل هذا غير صحيح، وعندي فيديوهات وعندي دلائل.
I would like to I take responsibility for every word I say, and I'm going to tell you about everything, because everything that is listed here is almost incorrect. I have been subject to injustice and pain or injury in my body, and I would not gonna be silent about it. I want to talk about it, and all the words that are listed in this report are incorrect, almost incorrect.
Okay. Well, now is not the time for us to
And
determine
I have a video,
whether or not it's correct.
Proving that.
Right now, the probable cause exists, so I've set bonds, and you do have an attorney. Your attorney will come to see you, or if you're able to raise the bond and bond out, you need to make sure you call your attorney so you can tell them about what happened.
هلا اذا عندك محامي، المحامي حتجي تحكي معك. اذا بدك تحكي وتبحث معها بالنسبه لدفع كفاله الخروج، فيك تعمل هالشيء، او تطالب باعفائك من بدل الخروج او رسم الخروج او الكفاله. ففيك تحكي مع المحاميه بس تجي لعندها.
أنا لا أسمعك جيدا عندما تقول هذا الكلام، لكن قالوا لي سوف يعطيني محامي الآن، لكن لا أرى أي محامي.
So I'm not able to hear you clearly for everything you're saying, but you're saying that you're going to give me a lawyer and attorney today now, but I do not see any attorney.
Okay. Well, they'll come to see you if you bond out, you need to go see them, and then the date to determine whether or not what happened or not, that's for a different date. All right. So thank you.
طيب إذا فيك لما بتطلع فيك تروح تشوف المحامي، ونحن هذا جلسة المحاكمة حطيناها لموعد آخر، جلسة المحكمة. لما بتدفع الكفالة فيك تدفع وتطلع تشوف المحامي تبعك.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
طيب شكرا.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for calling Language Line Solutions, and have a great day. Bye bye.
Okay, you too. On Mr. Clark Rosen, that failure to appear, the bond was $1,000. Actually, it's not no bond, so we've corrected that. The actual warrant said 1,000. Okay, your name, sir?
Mika Venable.
I'm sorry. Kamika, Ms. Venable, you're here today because you're arrested on 2 charges: battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting an officer without violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Bond to be set in the amount of $2,500 for the battery on a law enforcement officer, $500 on the resisting an officer without violence. If you do bond out, you are not to have any contact with the witnesses. You're not to return to Southern Nights. I believe this is the one. This was at Southern Nights, wasn't it? Southern Nights and Dive Bar.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not to return there 375 South Bumby Avenue. You're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and I will appoint a lawyer to represent you, so you have a public defender, okay? Your name, sir?
James Gibson.
All right, Mr. Gibson, you're here today
Yes, sir.
because you're arrested for a couple of things. You were arrested for aggravated assault with intent to commit a felony and disorderly conduct.
May I speak?
Just a second, I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. I will appoint a lawyer for you, so I'll appoint a public defender. You might want to ask her to see first whether or not you want, what you want to say. All right, I will reduce the bond on count one from 5 to 2,500 though, and it'll be $100 on the disorderly. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. That includes pellet guns if you do bond out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
How much is that total?
2,600 total. 2,500 and 100.
Oh, thank God. Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Joseph Drummond.
Mr. Drummond, you're here today because you're arrested for a charge of trespass on structure. I do find sufficient probable cause.
The offer is an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, no return to 901 North Orlando Avenue, and he would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
All right, Mr. Drummond?
Right.
All right, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today? Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No.
You read over this plea form, understood the rights, and signed it, and now do you have any questions for me about anything on that form? On the form right here? Any questions?
You'll say it again.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Any questions about anything on the form that I have?
What's that?
Okay, you understand that this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand?
Okay.
All right, I'll accept your plea. I'll judge you guilty, be sentenced to time served, impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. And I'll give you 12 months to get that paid. You can pay a little at a time or all at once, as long as it's paid.
I'm sorry, what about a restitution? I didn't hear that.
No, I said court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. And you have 12 months to get that paid. It's $273, okay? And you're not to return to 901 North Orlando Avenue for a period of 1 year. If you do go back there, court made aware of it, you are subject to a contempt citation. Okay? All righty. You'll be released as to this case. Your name, ma'am?
Keisha Howard.
All right, Ms. Howard, you were here today because you were arrested for a violation of a county ordinance. It was a loitering. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find the sufficient probable cause.
And the offer from the state is an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and no return to the mapping zone. She would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
Okay. Is that right, ma'am? You want to enter a plea of no contest?
Yes.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No.
So, okay, you understood all your rights on this. Do you have any questions for me on the form?
No.
Okay, you understand this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Yes.
All right, I'll accept your plea. We'll judge you guilty, be sentenced to time served. Court costs, $50 cost of prosecution. This is a total of $273, and you have 12 months to get that paid. Pay a little or all at once, as long as it's paid in 12 months. And finally, I'm going to order that you not return to the mapping zone, which is basically South Orange Blossom Trail, for a period of 1 year. If you do go back there and the court's made aware of it, you are subject to a contempt citation. Okay? You'll be released as to this case.
Is that on bond, Judge?
What's that? No action.
No action.
Yeah, no action on the other one, since you pled. Come on up. Your name, sir?
Ricardo Johnson.
Hi, Mr. Johnson. Let's see, we got two things. First of all, you're arrested on a charge of trespass after warning. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. In addition, there's a second charge of petty theft, and I have read the charging affidavit on that, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause.
There's no offer, Your Honor.
All right. In the trespass, it will set bond the amount of $100. If you do bond out, you're not to use, possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and no return to the scene. On the petty theft, the bond will be $500. Again, do not use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and no return to the scene. And public defender will be appointed on both cases, so you have a lawyer on both. All righty. Your name, ma'am?
Katrina Jones, sir.
All right, ma'am, you're here today because you're arrested for 3 charges. First of all, one was possession of cannabis of less than 20 grams, possession of drug paraphernalia, and a violation of a county ordinance. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause.
And the offer from the state was an adjudication of guilt, 7 days in the Orange County Jail with credit for 2, and she would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
All right. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
And you have any questions for me about the plea form that you signed? Anything on either side?
I do 5 days and get out, Friday?
Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
Actually, maybe it might even be less. Yeah. It would be Thursday night, late. Okay. And finally, you understand that the possession of cannabis and the possession of drug paraphernalia are both punishable by up to a year in the county jail, and the county ordinance violation is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, and that the entry of your pleas could result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Judge, fingerprints?
Nah. You know, it's,
Oh, yes, sir.
because I'm going to withhold, actually. All right, I accept your plea. As to count 1, violation of the county ordinance, I will judge you guilty, be 7 days with 2 days credit for time served. Count 2, possession of cannabis, I'm going to withhold on that. There's not any driver's license problems. 7 days in the Orange County Jail with 2 days credit for time served. Finally, possession of drug paraphernalia, 7 days, I judge you guilty of that. 7 days Orange County Jail with 2 days credit for time served. Those sentences run concurrent together, so they run at the same time. We'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution, and you can pay that at any time in the next 12 months. Okay, 12 months from your release. All right, you'll be you got a couple more days to do.
5 days, so all 3 charges.
Your name, sir?
Ariane Lowe.
Hi, Mr. Lowe. You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of trespass, refusal to leave. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find there's sufficient probable cause.
And the offer from the state is an adjudication of guilt, credit, time served, no return to 1615 South Orange Blossom Trail. You would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
Is that right, Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
You want to enter a plea? No contest?
Yes.
All right. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
Do you have any questions for me about anything on the form you signed? Any questions about this form?
I was trying to see if I can get released on pre-trial
Okay,
release.
you're going to get released, so that's what we're doing. What about this form? Do you have any questions? You sign this. All right.
No, sir.
Understand that the charge is punishable by up to a year in the county jail, up to $1,000 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. You understand all that? Yes?
Yes.
All right, I'll accept your plea. I'll judge you guilty. You'll be sentenced to time served. And I will impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. And I'll give you 12 months to get that paid. So you can pay it a little at a time or all at once. It just needs to be paid in the next 12 months, okay? And then you're also not to go back to 1615 South Orange Blossom Trail for a period of 1 year. If you do go back there, and I'm made aware of that, you could be held in contempt, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, you'll be released as to this case. I'll take no action on the other case. I don't know why we didn't, but. Your name, sir?
Norman Tan.
Mr. Tan, you're here today because you're arrested for 2 charges, trespass on property after warning and disorderly conduct. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause.
And the state did make an offer of an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and no return to the Orlando International Airport without a valid ticket. He would like to accept and enter plea of no contest.
All right, is that correct, Mr. Tan? You enter a plea of no contest. All right, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today? Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past? This plea form I got that has your signature. Do you have any questions for me about anything that's on the form, front or back?
So I can return.
Any questions about the form? Okay, just the form. Anything about the form? We'll get to that. But do you have any questions about anything on the form? All right. You understand that this charge is punishable by up to a year in the county jail, up to a $1,000 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand? Okay. I will accept your plea. I'll judge you guilty, be sentenced to time served on post-court costs, total of $273, and you can pay that any time in the next 12 months, whether it's a little at a time or all at once. Finally, I'm going to order you not to return to the Orlando International Airport or its property unless you have a valid ticket to and official business to travel. Okay, can't just go there and leave. Okay. All right, you'll be released as to this case. I guess actually it's time served on count 1 and 2 concurrent. Your name, sir?
Mr. Powell, Jeffrey Powell.
Hi, Mr. Powell. You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of open container. I have read the charging affidavit. Do you find sufficient probable cause?
And the offer from the state is an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and court costs. Mr. Powell would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
Is that correct, Mr. Powell?
Yes, it is.
All right. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today? Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
Sir.
All right. This plea form has your signature on it. Do you have any questions for me about anything that's on this form?
Sir.
Okay. You understand that the charge is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand? All right. I'll accept your plea. We'll judge you guilty of the charges of open container. You'll be sentenced to time served. I'll impose court costs, total of $223, and I will give you 12 months to get that paid. You can pay a little or all at once, okay? And you'll be released as to this case.
Casey Anno Bond, a felony case?
No action.
No action.
Your name, sir? Your name?
Nicholas Roberts.
Hi, Mr. Roberts. You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of disorderly conduct. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause.
And the offer from the state was an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and court costs. Sorry. He would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
Is that right, Mr. Roberts? You want to enter a plea?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
What?
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? Yes, you are under the influence of.
Are you under the influence?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No,
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
what do you say?
Have you suffered from any mental illness in the past?
Have you suffered from any mental health?
No, sir.
All right. And this plea form has your signature on it. Do you have any questions for me about anything on it?
No, sir.
Okay. You understand that the charge of disorderly conduct is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. You understand all that?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll accept your plea. I will judge you guilty, be sentenced to time served, and I'll impose court costs, a total of $223, and you will have 12 months to get that paid, but you'll be released as to this case today.
Yes, sir.
All righty. You're all set.
So I'll be released today? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, your name, ma'am?
Latoria Elmore.
Ms. Elmore, you're here today because you were charged with permitting an unauthorized operator to drive a motor vehicle. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Now, you do qualify for pretrial release, or I could set a bond of $100. Which would you rather have? Pretrial release requires you to report in with an officer, or you can just have a $100 bond.
Trial release, Your Honor.
All right. Pretrial release, $5 bond on that, and she'll be released with pretrial release conditions. You're not to operate a motor vehicle unless you do have a valid Florida driver's license. What's that?
You don't have to put the monetary bond on this one, Your
I
Honor.
don't?
Only with DVs, only for the
Oh,
DVs.
okay, there you go. No, no $5 bond.
So just PTI?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll learn it eventually.
This is just for the
This legislature always changing up stuff. All right.
No, you're fine.
Your names, come on up. All right.
I have a Garcia.
I don't have him either.
Bonded, you said Johnson bonded, okay. Garcia bonded and Johnson bonded. Okay.
All right, your name, sir?
Timothy Towns.
Mr. Towns, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of driving while license suspended. And I have read the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. Just want to make sure. Failed to appear on that. And the bond's $500 on that. I will appoint a public defender to represent you on that.
Your Honor, on the out on bond, we were trying to help him get his license. That's why it was still open.
What is the current bond on? All right, I'll take no action.
Both of them?
Yeah. He's already out in $1,000 bond. Don't drive without a valid Florida license. That's part of your conditions of release. Who was that? Oh, yeah. All right, your name, ma'am?
Jasmine Adams.
All right, Ms. Adams, you're here today because you're arrested for a charge of battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting without violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. The bond is on the battery and law enforcement officer be $2,500. On the resisting will be $100. And I will appoint a public defender to represent you. If you do bond out, you're not to return to Southern Nights or the dive bar. And no, not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. Your name, ma'am?
Wenisha Adams.
All right, Ms. Adams, you're here today because you're arrested for 2 charges, battering a law enforcement officer and resisting without violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause.
Well, she said she have any kids. She can make $1,000 a week, but her liability is like $5,000.
All right, so you make $1,000 a week?
Hmm?
You make $1,000 a week? Have any kids?
No,
Any other dependents?
no, just
She has $5,000 in liabilities. All right, I'll appoint a public defender. Set bond in the amount of $2,500 on count 1, $100 on count 2. We'll appoint a public defender. If you do bond out, you're not to return to the Southern Nights or the dive bar, and you're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. You'd probably be withdrawn for most of them anyways. Yep. My stack is all up to date because somebody pulled them all out for me.
You said who bonded? Okay.
Gabriella.
All right, your name, sir?
My name is Wow.
Last name?
Lu Bao Lu.
Alrighty. You're here today because you're arrested on charge of possession of cocaine. I read the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. What's that bond in the amount of $1,000? If you do bond out, you're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
Yes, sir.
All set. All right, your name, sir?
Peter Bassett.
Mr. Bassett, you're here because you're arrested on a charge of possession of methamphetamine. I read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Set bond in the amount of $1,000. If you do bond out, you're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And we'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Are any of these, either of these two, possession of cocaines, are they filed on?
No, Your Honor, I looked, they were back from November, and I didn't see that
Okay.
either one.
Take no action then. All right, your name, sir?
Waive, Your Honor.
Okay. And that's in Mr. Budd's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I will appoint a public defender to represent him. And then state on the, hang on, I'm looking through. Oh, okay.
On that.
Do we have a trafficking case?
I don't think
We
it came
do,
through
but
yet.
It hasn't come through yet, and I don't think it's the right drug. Is that right?
So we
No, I
just,
haven't
ours
seen that
starts
yet.
with the aggravated fleeing from the face sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, as to the aggravating fleeing, attempted to elude, 2,500, carrying concealed weapon by a convicted felon, 1,000, possession firearm, by a convicted felon, 500, possession of firearm and commission of felony, 500, possession of cocaine with intent to sell and deliver with a firearm, 5,000, possession of cannabis with intent to sell and deliver with a weapon, 2,500, resisting and without violence, 100, possession of drug paraphernalia, 100. And no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol.
Yeah, criminal mission.
Oh, is there, no, there's an 820, all right, 100 on that as well.
Okay, and no guns, no knives.
Yeah, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, no operation of a motor vehicle without a valid Florida license. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. Where was the criminal mischief was the fence, that's right. So it's not a no return. All right. Okay, your name, sir?
Ahmad Collier.
Mr. Collier, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of possession of MDMA. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause. It's up on the amount of $1,000. If you do bond out, you're not to use or possess any guns, weapons, or drugs, or alcohol, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you.